You don't miss love. You miss depth. And depth is disappearing. Modern love feels intense at first. Fast. Electric. Constant texting. Constant reassurance. Constant access. And yet, weeks later, months later, something fades. Not attraction. Not compatibility. Something harder to name. Meaning, you start to feel restless, detached, unsatisfied, even when nothing is wrong. Why? Jung would say, because most modern love begins with projection, not perception. Projection is when you fall in love, not with a person, but with the image your unconscious places onto them. You don't see them. You see what they represent. Security, adventure, healing, validation, escape. You meet someone. They smile a certain way. They say one meaningful thing. They mirror a hidden part of you. And suddenly, you feel seen. But what you are often feeling is your own unconscious, reflected back at you. Jung called this the anima and animus, the inner feminine in a man, the inner masculine in a woman. These are not stereotypes. They are psychological energies. And when you have not integrated them internally, you project them outward. You search for someone to complete you, to carry your missing pieces, to embody your denied traits. The sensitive man seeks a woman who carries strength. The ambitious woman seeks a man who carries emotional depth. The withdrawn person seeks someone expressive. The chaotic person seeks someone stable. Opposites attract, not because they are balanced, but because they are incomplete. At first, this feels magical. You feel whole, expanded, alive. But here's the problem. Projection cannot sustain intimacy because projection collapses under reality. Eventually, they fail to embody your fantasy. They say something insensitive. They need space. They reveal insecurity. They contradict your image. And the spell breaks. You say, they've changed. But often, they were never what you imagined. You were in love with your own unconscious. Modern love accelerates this process. Apps, endless options, curated personas. You fall in love with profiles, with aesthetics, with potential, before you ever encounter depth. Persona meets persona. Mask meets mask. Two curated identities trying to impress each other. And when the performance ends, emptiness appears. Not because love is dead, but because integration never happened. Jung believed that real love begins when projection ends, when you withdraw the fantasy and see the human, flawed, complex, independent from your unmet needs. But modern culture resists this stage. The moment intensity fades, people assume the connection is wrong. They chase the spark again. New person, new projection, new intensity, same emptiness. This is not a failure of romance. It is a failure of inner work. If you have not met your own shadow, you will demand that your partner carry it. If you have not integrated your own anima or animus, you will seek someone to stabilize you psychologically, and that creates pressure. No one can survive being someone else's missing half. Love becomes heavy. Expectations grow. Resentment builds. Because unconsciously, you are asking them to fix what you haven't faced. Modern love feels empty because it is often built on avoidance. Avoidance of solitude. Avoidance of self-confrontation. Avoidance of integration. It is easier to chase chemistry than to examine loneliness. Easier to demand reassurance than to develop self-trust. Easier to blame emotionally unavailable partners than to confront your attraction to them. Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. How many times have you repeated the same pattern? Different face, same dynamic, different story, same ending. That is not coincidence. It is unconscious repetition. You are drawn to what mirrors your unresolved material. The avoidant attracts the anxious. The rescuer attracts the wounded. The emotionally distant attracts the emotionally hungry. Each believes the other is the solution, but they are reflections. Modern love markets itself as freedom, infinite options, endless choice. But too much choice prevents depth, because depth requires commitment, and commitment requires confronting projection. To love someone real, you must tolerate disillusionment. You must accept that they are not your fantasy. You must release the idea that they exist to complete you. And that feels like loss, but it is actually maturation. When projection fades, two possibilities appear: disappointment or intimacy. Disappointment happens when you were only in love with the image. Intimacy happens when you can see their flaws and remain present. Modern love feels empty because many relationships never survive. The projection collapse. They end at the first moment of reality. They restart the fantasy cycle. Intensity becomes addiction. Stability becomes boring. Calm becomes no spark. But what if the spark was projection? What if real love feels quieter because it is grounded in reality? Jung did not romanticize love. He saw it as psychological confrontation. Your partner will activate your shadow, expose your insecurity, trigger your unresolved wounds. Not because they are wrong, but because intimacy dissolves masks. And without shadow integration, that dissolution feels threatening. So people retreat, or attack, or detach. Instead of integrating, modern love is not empty because people are incapable. It is empty because few are integrated. Few have met themselves deeply enough to meet another without illusion. And until that changes, love will feel intense at first and hollow later. But this is only the beginning, because the deeper issue is not projection. It is fear of individuation. Modern love doesn't fail by accident. It fails by design. You are not choosing partners. Your unconscious is, and it chooses what is familiar, not what is healthy. Familiar does not mean safe. It means known. If love in your childhood felt inconsistent, you will crave inconsistency. If affection was conditional, you will chase validation. If connection felt unstable, you will mistake anxiety for chemistry. Because your nervous system calls chaos home. Jung believed we repeat what remains unconscious. You don't fall in love randomly. You fall in love symbolically. They represent something unfinished in you. The distant one? They awaken your abandonment wound. The intense one? They mirror your unregulated desire. The broken one? They activate your rescuer identity. And it feels meaningful. But meaning and maturity are not the same. Modern dating makes this worse. Endless swiping, instant dopamine, micro connections, micro rejections. You bond quickly, detach quickly, replace quickly. No depth, no digestion, no reflection, just stimulation. And stimulation is not intimacy. You think you're choosing freely, but you're reacting. Reacting to attraction spikes, reacting to fear of missing out, reacting to loneliness. Loneliness is uncomfortable, so you fill it with attention, with situationships, with almost relationships. But avoidance of loneliness creates shallow attachment. Jung spoke of the persona, the mask you wear to survive socially. Modern love is persona meeting persona. Curated photos, controlled vulnerability, strategic texting. You show the attractive parts. Hide the shadow. Hide the insecurity. Hide the rage. Hide the dependency. And when the shadow eventually appears, it shocks both of you. Not because it's abnormal, but because it was never acknowledged. Real intimacy begins when the shadow is welcomed. Modern love ends when the shadow appears. So people restart. New face, new fantasy, new hope. Same unconscious. You don't need a better partner. You need deeper awareness. Because without it, you will keep meeting the same soul in different bodies. You say, all men are emotionally unavailable, or all women are too demanding. But Jung would ask, what part of you is choosing them? What pattern are you loyal to? What wound are you replaying? Projection feels romantic. Integration feels threatening. Because integration removes the fantasy. It forces you to ask, who am I? Without someone completing me. Who am I? Without being desired? Who am I? Alone? Modern love feels empty. Because most people fear that question. They want union, without individuation. Closeness, without self-knowledge. Intensity, without stability. but you cannot bypass the inner work. If you do not integrate your anima or animus, you will idolize your partner, then resent them. If you do not confront your shadow, you will blame your partner for emotions that are yours. Modern relationships collapse under unconscious expectations. You expect them to regulate you, to reassure you, to validate you, to rescue you, to stabilize you, to excite you, to heal you. That is too much weight for any human. So they pull away, or you do, and you call it incompatibility. But often, it was psychological dependency. Jung did not see love as completion. He saw it as confrontation. Your partner will expose you, not because they are toxic, but because intimacy removes masks. And if you built your identity on the mask, that exposure feels like death. So you retreat, back to fantasy, back to projection, back to the beginning. Modern love feels empty because it avoids the stage where real love begins, the stage after illusion, the stage after disappointment, the stage where two imperfect people choose each other consciously, not because they fill a void, but because they stand whole. And that requires something rare, self-confrontation, which most avoid. But without it, love will always feel intense. And then empty. Modern love feels passionate, but often it is trauma responding to trauma. You call it chemistry, but sometimes it is recognition of wounds. Fast intensity, immediate obsession, constant thinking, emotional highs, emotional crashes. That is not always love. That is activation. When someone triggers your deepest attachment fear, your body reacts. Heart racing, thought loops, need for reassurance, fear of losing them. You interpret that as depth. But depth is not anxiety. Jung understood this through the shadow, the parts of you disowned. Neediness, jealousy, control, fear, dependency. If you deny these traits, you will meet someone who activates them, and you will think, this must be fate. But it is unfinished business. The anxious falls for the avoidant. The avoidant falls for the anxious. Why? Because each carries what the other rejects. The anxious rejects independence. The avoidant rejects vulnerability. Together, they complete the pattern, not each other. And the intensity feels intoxicating. Push, pull, hot, cold, closeness, distance, relief, fear. The nervous system mistakes unpredictability for importance. Because unpredictability demands attention. Calm feels unfamiliar, so calm feels boring. You say, there's no spark, but maybe there's no chaos. And chaos was your definition of love. Modern culture glorifies this cycle. Twin flames, toxic but passionate, can't stay away. But Jung would ask, what shadow are you avoiding? What are you projecting onto them? Do you love them? Or do you love how they make you feel about yourself? Trauma bonding creates intensity, but intensity is not intimacy. Intimacy is slower, quieter, safer, and safety can feel foreign if you grew up in emotional unpredictability. So you sabotage it. You pick fights. You withdraw. You chase someone else. Not because you want chaos, but because chaos feels alive. The shadow feeds on drama. Because drama distracts you from self-confrontation. When love becomes stable, you must face yourself, your emptiness, your insecurity, your lack of inner grounding. And that is harder than chasing someone unavailable. Modern love feels empty because many relationships are built on mutual wounds, two unintegrated shadows, trying to regulate each other. It works until exhaustion sets in, until resentment builds, until one partner collapses under emotional demand. Then you call it wrong person. But often, it was unconscious attraction. Jung believed real love requires individuation. Individuation means you are whole before union. You know your shadow. You own your projections. You regulate your emotions. You choose, not from desperation, but from awareness. Without individuation, you seek salvation in romance. And no human can survive being your savior. Modern love also suffers because of comparison, social media illusions, highlight reels, filtered intimacy. You compare your quiet connection to someone else's curated passion, and you feel lacking. But curated passion is performance. Real love is mundane sometimes. Real love has silence. Real love has routine. Real love has imperfection. If you expect constant euphoria, you will always feel empty, because euphoria is temporary. Connection is sustainable, and sustainability requires maturity. You cannot build depth on dopamine alone. You build depth on honesty, and honesty means admitting your patterns, admitting your fears, admitting your role in the collapse. Jung warned, until you integrate your shadow, you will be controlled by it. In love, that control looks like repetition. Same fights, same endings, different names. Modern love feels empty because people chase intensity instead of integration. They chase sparks instead of stability. They chase fantasy instead of truth. And truth is uncomfortable. Truth says, you are attracted to what mirrors your wounds. Truth says, you repeat what feels familiar. Truth says, the emptiness is not out there. It is unintegrated material inside you. But once you see that, everything changes, because then love becomes conscious, not reactive, not desperate, not symbolic, but real. If modern love feels empty, the solution is not a better partner. It is a deeper self. You do not fix love by swiping differently. You fix love by seeing clearly. Jung called this individuation, the process of becoming whole. Not perfect, whole. Whole means you know your shadow, you know your projections, you know your unmet needs, and you stop outsourcing them. Most people want love to remove loneliness, but loneliness is not solved by proximity. It is solved by self-connection. If you cannot sit with yourself, you will cling to anyone who distracts you. And distraction is not intimacy. So the first shift is this. Stop chasing. Start observing. When you feel strong attraction, pause. Ask, what does this person represent? Security? Validation? Excitement? Rescue? Control? Look at the pattern, not the face. If you keep falling for distance, ask yourself, why does distance feel magnetic? If you keep feeling abandoned, ask yourself, where did this story begin? Jung believed the outer drama reflects the inner conflict. Your partner is not random. They are symbolic. Until you decode the symbol, you repeat the lesson. Modern love trains you to react fast, text fast, feel fast, commit fast, detach fast. But depth requires slowness. Slowness reveals truth. How do they handle conflict? How do you handle it? Can you express fear without manipulation? Can you hear criticism without collapse? Can you stay present without control? These questions matter more than sparks. Chemistry is immediate. Character is revealed. Modern love empties you because it skips evaluation. It confuses potential with reality. It romanticizes what could be instead of seeing what is. Real love is not fantasy. It is choice, repeated choice, without projection, without illusion, without trying to be saved. And that begins with self-regulation. Can you soothe yourself when they are distant? Can you reassure yourself without demanding proof? Can you tolerate space without panic? If not, the work is internal, not relational. Jung warned that what we resist controls us. If you resist your neediness, it will leak out as jealousy. If you resist your fear, it will show up as control. If you resist your anger, it will appear as passive aggression. Integration means you admit the need, you admit the fear, you admit the anger without shame, because shame keeps the shadow hidden, and hidden shadow destroys intimacy. Modern love feels empty because many relationships are negotiations of ego. Who texts first? Who cares more? Who has power? But love is not power. It is mutual vulnerability. And vulnerability, without self-awareness, becomes emotional chaos. So here is the shift. Stop asking, who will complete me? Start asking, Am I complete enough to share myself honestly? When two individuating people meet, love feels different, less dramatic, more stable, less obsessive, more secure, less fantasy, more reality. And reality is quieter, but it is deeper. Modern love is loud. Notifications, stories, reels, comparisons. True love is quiet. Presence, eye contact, consistency, respect. It will not feel like fireworks every day. It will feel like safety. And if safety feels boring, that is your nervous system asking to be retrained. Because peace should not feel foreign. Peace should feel like home. Jung did not see love as a cure for emptiness. He saw it as a mirror for growth. If love feels empty, do not panic. Investigate. Where are you fragmented? Where are you projecting? Where are you abandoning yourself to keep someone? Because self-abandonment always leads to resentment, and resentment kills intimacy. Modern love is not doomed, but unconscious love is. If you do the inner work, relationships become different. You stop chasing intensity. You start choosing alignment. You stop fearing solitude. You start valuing depth. You stop confusing chaos with passion. You start recognizing calm as maturity. And then, love no longer feels empty. It feels earned, conscious, grounded, real. And real love is not dramatic. It is integrated. If this made you uncomfortable, good. Love is not supposed to be comfortable at first. It is supposed to reveal you. Before you blame modern dating, before you blame your ex, before you blame emotionally unavailable people, ask yourself, what am I projecting? What am I avoiding? What part of me is still unintegrated? Because until you meet your shadow, you will keep meeting it in someone else. That is not fate. That is unconscious repetition. Jung did not believe love saves you. He believed love exposes you. And exposure is a gift, if you are willing to grow. So here is the commitment. Stop chasing intensity. Start building wholeness. Stop looking for someone to complete you. Start integrating what you abandoned in yourself. That is how love stops feeling empty. If you're ready to stop repeating patterns and start becoming conscious in how you love, subscribe. Not for dating advice, for individuation. Comment one word. Integrated. Not for the algorithm, for you. A reminder that the next relationship you enter will not be unconscious. It will be chosen. And that changes everything.